I want to also make it clear that I will not lead the party in any future general election campaign.
Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party has been decimated. Now, I'm really going to dig in to what happened here and try and present, a clear picture on what actually occurred in this election and what drove this result. So, as you see here, the Tories won with a clear majority, up 47 seats, and Labour down, losing 59 seats. Now, a lot is being made of this. A lot of centrists, a lot of moderates are trying to act like this is because Labour went too far left. Now, let's explore that idea for a minute. If this result is because the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn are too far left, then why did the centrist Liberal Democrats lose? They lost their leader, Jo Swinson. She lost her seat in a shock result. Not to mention, every centrist MP who defected from Labour and Tories also lost their seat. So, if this was about Labour going too far left, those results for the Lib Dems would have been a lot different, and for moderates in general would have been much different. This election, unfortunately, was a result of one issue: Brexit. So back in 2017, Labour backed the Brexit result. Here you see an article from back then, Corbyn on Brexit, UK can be better off out of the EU. This one from Independent, again 2 years ago. Jeremy Corbyn says Brexit issue is settled. The question now is what sort of country do we want after Brexit, says Labour leader. So with Labour backing Brexit in 2017, their election result that year, with essentially the same left-wing platform, was much more favorable than it was in this election. So again, 2 years ago, Corbyn defies doubters as Labour gains seats. Buoyant leader says party has changed face of British politics, with Knight's unexpected successes shoring up his position. So Labour was on the side of supporting the results of the Brexit referendum back in 2017. So that was an issue that didn't need to be focused on in the election because they agreed with the result. And the focus then was on the rest of the platform. This time, though, Corbyn and the Labour Party took a different approach. A second referendum. So as you see here, Jeremy Corbyn, I'll stay neutral and let the people decide on Brexit. Labour leaders call for sensible deal is signal to party that he will resist calls to pick sides. So essentially, the Labour's new plan here was to create their own version of a deal after the result of the election and then put that to the people for a second referendum. It appears, though, the British people did not want a second referendum. So this was a gamble that did not pay off. And as much as Labour and Corbyn tried to make this about other issues like Tory austerity, public ownership, the NHS, it didn't matter. The British media and the Tories made this about Brexit. I was watching election night coverage. Sky News, covering the election, called this the Brexit election. This was a common theme, not just with Sky News, but with media in general. This was the Brexit election. And if there's any doubt about that, Boris Johnson claims Brexit mandate as Conservative Party wins by a landslide in the UK. So this was an election about Brexit. The only thing that changed from Corbyn and the Labour from 2017 till now is their position on Brexit. That is the only major shift in their entire platform, is they were for the results of the referendum on Brexit initially in 2017. They had a great result in that election, huge gains to the surprise of everybody. This time they took a different approach, staying neutral, and they lost. Another factor here is the Brexit Party strategy. So the Brexit Party here, as you can see from a month ago, the reporting, Brexit Party says it won't stand in seats where Tories won last time. Meaning the Tories were now able to shore up the Brexit vote, whereas the Labour were left to compete with the Brexit vote, or with the Brexit Party in this case. So the result of that, here are a few examples. In Sunderland Central, Labour still won this seat, by the way, but look who they lost votes to. Brexit Party gained 11 points. Labour down 13. And you also see the Lib Dems here gain 3. So the Lib Dems also took a side on Brexit. They took the opposite side. They took the side of remaining in and not being for the Brexit referendum. So they were able to gain some support doing that as well. Looking at Don Valley here, Labour lost this seat to the Conservatives. Brexit Party plus 13. So a lot of that former Labour support went to the Brexit Party, and the Conservatives were able to win this seat here, even though they only gained plus 1.4. Or let's take a look at Sedgefield, where the vote was flipped to Conservatives. But there was enough of a pro-Brexit vote there that actually the Tories and the Brexit Party could split the gains and still hand Tories the majority in that race, or not the majority, but the plurality in terms of being able to win that race. And the Libs Dems position on again staying with Remain gained them a couple points here as well. So essentially, voters wanted a clear answer on Brexit. Either way, clearly most of them wanted Brexit. They supported the initial result of the referendum. But if you were in the Remain part of that, you may have voted Lib Dems. So Labour lost either way. As Alex Preen tweets here, I'm a US idiot, but it seems like the politics of Brexit were impossible for Labour. Practically, the correct thing is to remain and reform the EU. Politically, the correct thing was accept the referendum. Everyone who confidently demanded Corbyn take a side can't square that. So that's true. I mean, there's almost no way around this. But if you're focused on gaining power, then Labour could have held strong to their 2017 position. But it's so unfortunate because I think Labour took the correct position on Brexit in terms of how about we create the deal and then put that deal to the people and then let the people decide on what the actual deal is. But people were tired. They were tired of the Brexit discussion, and for the most part, they supported the result of the referendum. Now, another obvious factor in this election result is media malpractice in communicating what this election was about. So, as I discussed earlier, the media made all the focus about Brexit and also a lot of negative attacks against Corbyn. I'll get to that in a minute. But here, the Cavernacle tweets out, is there a better example than this election that you can't have a real democracy under capitalism? The wealthy own the media. The media projects their message. It creates the reality of Britain to millions of people. Their narrative is controlled by a handful of Britain's elite. How is any election supposed to be fought on actual policies in this context? So he makes a great point here. As long as the British media, the mainstream press, the corporate-controlled media, the elite-controlled media, as long as that controls the messaging of these elections, then it's kind of hard to get around it. Which, again, look, it's super important to support independent media, support channels like mine, support channels like The Cavernacle. The Cavernacle has a great channel on YouTube. Check them out. I'll link to it below. There are a ton of us out there doing the work where we are engaged with people. We are engaged on the issues. We actually care to create a society that is better for everyone. Corporate media, elite media, they're focused on the wealthiest. So if they can make this election simply about Brexit, completely ignore the entire platforms of all the parties, make it all about a referendum, a new referendum on Brexit, then that's what they made it about. There's also, of course, as I was saying, media malpractice in terms of how Corbyn was treated. So I'm not going to go into all this because this could be a whole other 30-minute video. But I have a recent video on this in particular, as the Canary reports here. Here's proof that no matter what Corbyn says or does, the establishment media will attack him. So my video, my video on that goes into the tweet thread that they share there. Basically, it's showing you, regardless of what position Corbyn takes, he gets attacked from both sides. So I'll link to that above if you want to watch that. But it's hilarious, but also depressing. Also, here, Gary Young in The Guardian. As he wrote, Corbyn was deeply unpopular. On the doorstep, most couldn't really say why they didn't like him. They just didn't. Obviously, the media, which did not come out of this election well at all, have a lot to do with that. How could you like someone when you never hear anything good about them? The right-wing dominated press too often framed the narratives for television and radio, which fed them back on a loop that could be broken only by events. So this is the major issue. You have the media dictating the narratives. It's manufacturing consent. They decide what you should care about because people live busy lives. They have full-time jobs. They have families. They have things to do. So oftentimes what they hear about the election, about politics, is just word of mouth. So if the media is able to pump out a certain narrative, whether it's about Jeremy Corbyn, whether it's about the election being about Brexit, then that's what people attach onto. The electoral system is another issue, and I know a lot about this as a Canadian. First past the post is a serious issue. Peter Golton tweets this out here. The Green Party got 1 seat with 2.7% of the vote, whilst the SNP get 48 seats with 3.9% of the vote. Conservatives got 16 times more votes than Greens, but 363 times more MPs. More people didn't vote Tory than did. So that highlights what is inherently wrong with the electoral system. So what now? Well, Corbyn, who still kept his seat, won his seat, he announced after winning his seat that he will step down as leader.
I want to also make it clear that I will not lead the party in any future general election campaign. I will discuss with our party to ensure there is a process now of reflection on this result and on the policies that the party will take going forward. And I will lead the party during that period to ensure that discussion takes place and we move on into the future.
So Corbyn really had no other choice. They suffered a massive loss, even though it wasn't about the platform. It wasn't really about him, though I guess you could say it kind of was, considering how the media painted him. So, yeah, there's no way he could stay on as leader, even though I like Corbyn a lot. I think he is a great person, a great leader. He has a fantastic 40-year record of fighting for these issues. But he had to step down. And, look, it's just really unfortunate that this election had to be about Brexit. If it was about the platform, if it was like back in 2017, where there was a level playing field in terms of Brexit, but they actually had to fight on, what they were going to do for people, the result would have been a lot different. But it is what it is. And, as depressing as this result is, you have to keep fighting. You have to keep building wherever you are, whether, you're in the UK, whether you're anywhere else, America, Canada, worldwide, that is depressed by this. You have to keep building, keep fighting, and understand that there are always new challenges ahead, new ways that you can attain power, new ways that you can help people. Keep that as your focus. And, as long as we do that, as long as we keep building and fighting, then we're going to succeed.